This lesson on academic writing skills is common sentence problems. We will begin with the introduction, then we move on to the 5 sentence problems. Finally, we will have some practices and quiz to check out learning. Now, let's start from the introduction. So, why is it important to know common problems with sentence writing? There are 2 major reasons. First, when we write, we can avoid these problems to make our meaning clear and complete. Second, we analyze the formal components of a text and understand the meaning efficiently. Now, let's move on to learn the 5 sentence problems. So first, sentence fragments are groups of words that are not complete sentence. It may lack a subject, verb, or an independent clause. We can correct it by adding a subject, verb, or an independent clause to make the sentence complete. For example, by the time I get to school is a dependent clause that doesn't express a complete thought. We can add a main clause, I will hand in my assignment, to make the meaning clear. Second, choppy sentences are sentences that are too short. They may be boring and frustrating to read for long periods of time. We can correct it by combining sentences into 1 or 2 sentences. As can be seen in the example, we can combine the choppy sentences by changing the last sentence, I like Mozart's music best, into phrases, especially Mozart's music, and change its order. Then, we use the coordinator AND to connect 2 independent clauses, I like music and I go to a concert once a month. Third, stringy sentences are very long sentences, consist of 2 meaning independent sentences by the connectors and, but, or because, and it's difficult to comprehend and tiresome to read. We can separate the sentences or rewrite them to be complex or compound sentences. For example, to avoid making our audiences feel difficult to comprehend and tiresome to read the sentences, we can edit the sentences. As can be seen in the example, we change the order of the 2 clauses because it helps me relax and I listen to the music every day. Then we combine the clauses with the connector and because. And finally, we add also and a comma and separate the last sentence. I go to a concert once a month with my friends. The 4th problem is run-on sentences, which means that 2 or more independent clauses are connected without using punctuation. It may also be frustrating to read and understand. We can correct it by the following 3 ways. First, use a period to separate independent clauses. Or second, use a subordinating conjunction to connect clauses. We can also add extra words. For example, we add a period to separate the 2 sentences. Finally, comma splice means we only use a comma without coordinating conjunction to separate 2 independent clauses. When a comma is used to separate 2 independent clauses, a coordinating conjunction must be included. For example, we can add coordinating conjunction or use a semicolon instead to connect the 2 independent clauses. We've learned the 5 major sentence problems and the ways we can correct these mistakes or problems. Now, let's practice to check out how much we have learned. Now, please correct the sentence problems. Here are the answers. First, for the dependent clause, after I get home, we add a comma and the main clause, I eat dinner with my family, to make the meaning clear. Second, we use subordinator because and coordinator and to introduce the two reasons. Thirdly, we use a comma to end the first sentence, and we use the adverb also and a comma to introduce another main clause, or the sentence. I can see different insects. Please also correct the sentence problems. Here are the answers. For the run-on sentence, we add a period, and for the comma splice sentence, we add a coordinator and to combine the two independent clauses. Now, let's move on to the quiz to check out learning. First, please match the sentence problems with definitions. Here are the answers. Next, please identify the sentence problems and try to make it complete or correct. Here are the answers. The first one is sentence fragment, because went to a concert is an incomplete sentence which needs a subject to make the idea complete. For example, I. The second is the run-on sentence, which needs a comma before and then we had dinner together. Next, the third one are choppy sentences, which are too short, and we can rewrite them by combining them using connectors and changing the word order. Next, it's comma splice, which uses only a comma to separate the two independent clauses. I went to a concert with my friend, and then we had dinner together. The connector must be used. Finally, the last one are stringent sentences that consist of two meaning-independent sentences connected with and or because. And we can rewrite them by separating the sentences, changing the clause into prepositional phrases, and changing the word order. Now, let's quickly review what we have learned. There are 5 common sentence problems, and their definitions are shown in the table. And we've also learned how to correct each sentence problem. Here are ways to correct sentence fragments, choppy sentences, and stringent sentences. And here are ways to correct run-on sentences and comma splice. So when we write, make sure we avoid writing these kinds of sentences or identify these sentence problems and correct them using the appropriate ways. Thank you for joining the lesson. The lesson is funded by the Ministry of Education.